Hey, Nathan.
Hi, Courtney. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
So there's your problem, huh?
Yeah, so the other day I was taking out the trash and I couldn't shut the door and the hinge fell on top of me.
Uh-oh. We don't want that.
Nope.
Let's take a look at it. All right, so first off, a little bit of vocabulary for what we're looking at. You got this big, beautiful wood door, nice glass on it. Going up top, we can see our top hinge here. We have our leaf. We have this mortise that was chiseled out of the jamb to receive this leaf. We have our screws, and as we pull this away, you can see stripped out screw holes just like you thought. You can think about it, over the years, this door, there's so much weight on it, and it's opening, it's closing, it's always working at that top hinge. So this is the most common one to become loose first. There's a lot of different ways to fix it. I brought some options. Let me show you what I got.
All right, let's do it.
So as I was saying, there's a lot of options when it comes to fixing out stripped out screw holes. I'm gonna focus on three. Okay. The first one's kind of obvious. It's actually just increasing the length of the screw. So here's a screw that I pulled out. This one's just a little bit longer, go deeper, get a little bit more bite. In some cases, you could even go really long if you need to go back and really grab that jack stud. But one word of caution, if you're gonna swap out the screws, the larger the screw, usually the larger the screw head. So when we put the screw in, we don't want the head to stick out past the leaf of the hinge, because when the door shuts, those will bind and it's going to change the alignment of the door. Next option is that we can actually start to repair the hole. There's a couple of quick fixes. We could use toothpicks, you could use golf tees, you can use a wooden dowel, you can set it with wood glue, or you can use a 2-part epoxy, which is going to cure faster. Going down the line, we actually have kits being made now for stripped out screws. We have this insert here that you can snap off to the right length, put it in the hole, then put your screw back in. This one here is really rugged, really cool new option. It's a brass threaded insert. So you're going to pre-drill a hole, you're going to drive it in with a Torx bit, flip the hinge back and put the supplied screw in. But this is a smaller, newer screw. So you have older hinges that have larger holes in them. So this wouldn't really work too well with your older hinge, be better for newer stuff.
Okay, so which of the 3 options do you recommend for my door?
I think I'm going to do a combination of the 2 because the holes that you have are really stripped out. They've been elongated and we need to start filling that back in. So I'm going to do a repair. I'm going to use a wooden dowel with a 2-part epoxy, and then I'm actually going to introduce a longer screw, but I'm not going to use these ones that have a newer Phillips style head. I'm going to go with some older screws that I brought along with me. Thankfully for you and my grandfather used to save a lot of old brass screws. And the reason I want to use these is they have a straight slot or slotted head on them compared to the modern day screw that you get, which is mostly going to be a Phillips head. So aesthetically, I'd like to go back with that straight slot.
Perfect.
All right. All right, we're ready for the repair. And to get started, I'd like to make these holes all uniform. Okay. So I have a 1/4-inch drill bit chucked in, and I'm going to drill each hole with this 1/4-inch drill bit. And I want to keep it square, and I don't want to go too deep, just enough to get through the jamb. All right, that's the first one. Now we have a nice uniform hole. We've put that 1/4-inch dowel in. We'll epoxy that in place. You want to drill the other 3 holes?
Sure.
So the key is we want to keep it nice and square. We don't want it to go down, up, left, or right. So right about there. So if you grab that, and there's going to be a little bit of resistance to it, but go ahead and pull that trigger. Now we're going to vacuum out these holes, and then we're ready for the dowels. All right, so we have our 1/4-inch dowel that are fitting in nicely into there. Mm-hmm. So what we need to do is cut off a few little pieces, probably about 1 inch long, and I cut 4 of them. And then I'll mix up some 2-part epoxy.
Okay.
We'll coat the end in the 2-part epoxy, and then we will tap them in. 2-part epoxy bonds practically anything. So we're going to wood, so it's more than enough, but we could even bond wood to metal or wood to plastic. So I'll do the first one, then you can do the other one. So I'm going to put it in, mix it like in there like a Q-tip. All right, you're up. All right. All right, the epoxy's all cured. Now it's time to cut those dowels off flush. So now we're just gonna do a little bit of sanding just to make sure they're nice and flush with that mortise. Now we're ready to support this end of the door. To do that, I'm gonna use a new construction jack that I have.
Okay.
I want you to watch that hinge and you tell me when it's perfectly fitting into that mortise.
Okay. Looks good.
Looks good?
Yeah.
All right, now we're ready to use our self-centering drill bit to start a pilot hole for the brass screws that we're gonna put in. Looks good. So you can see it's perfectly centered in the hole. If you tried to freehand that with a drill bit, you run the risk of wandering. So you might go in the center, but then you might hit a piece of grain or something that wants to turn that drill bit a little bit. Then you go to put your 2-inch long screw in and you're gonna be at an angle. So this helps keep it nice and straight as well. So we'll finish up the last hole and then we can flip the hinge out of the way and do a bigger drill bit. All right, so we have our pilot hole started, but I wanna drill it a little bit deeper. So what I'm gonna do is grab a drill bit that is slightly smaller than the size of my screw, so only the threads are catching onto the wood. Bring this in. And you can actually feel it go past the jamb into a void, which is for the shim space, and then you start to hit the jack stud, which is a good sign that we're gonna get into some good meat back there. Okay. So if you wanna do the other 3, remember just about a 1/4 inch. So we're ready to put our new old screws in. We're going from a 1-inch screw to a 2-inch screw. So we pre-drilled for that, but we're still putting a bigger screw in. So we're gonna meet a little bit of resistance as we put it back in. One trick to overcome that is use a little bit of wax. So I use this, I'll get it on the first 5-6 threads. And this is gonna add a little bit of help against the resistance that we're gonna meet as we put it in, preventing us from stripping the straight slot and also breaking the screw. What I'm doing now is I'm taking all the screws and I'm lining up the straight slots. So they're all going the same direction. All right, what do you think?
Looks good.
Want to give it a try?
Yeah, definitely much better.
Easy open, easy close, nice and safe. You can see the door was hanging before and you're actually getting some rubbing on your jamb there. So we corrected that, no more problems. You are good to go.
Awesome, thank you so much.
You're welcome. If you've got questions about your house, we'd love to hear from you, so keep them coming. Until next time, I'm Nathan Gilbert for Ask This Old House.
Thanks for watching. This Old House has got a video for just about every home improvement project, so be sure to check out the others. And if you like what you see, click on the subscribe button to make sure that you get our newest videos right in your feed.